Eagles fans, the wait is over. After an off-season of changes, new faces in Philadelphia, we have all been asking one big question. What is this team going to look like? Well, you're going to get to see it for yourself right here in Atlanta as the Eagles take on the Falcons to officially kick off the regular season. Excitement at an all-time high. Excitement at an all-time high here in studio as well. We're thrilled to have you with us here on the Kickoff Show presented by Axalta. I'm Amy Campbell, joined by Fran Duffy. Fran, I know Eagles fans are excited to see a lot of things today, but you and me back in studio together, probably near the top of that list.
Yeah, maybe for some, but for me personally, no offense, Amy, I am most excited to get eyes on this Eagles team. And you mentioned right at the top, we have an idea of what this identity is going to be. Now we get to find out for certain, right? And it starts here this afternoon. And
it starts with this guy right here, the young QB making his fifth start in the NFL, Jalen Hurts. Dual threat ability. This guy is a winner. And look, now the NFL has a little bit of tape on him after what they've seen last year, but we saw some flashes of him last year, and I think the entire NFL is watching today because a lot of people are wondering what this guy is going to bring in this new Nick Sirianni offense with all this young talent around him. What do you think about what the task that he has today, Fran?
Yeah, it's going to be a huge test, and we're going to talk about that throughout the show as to why it will be such a big test here for Jalen Hurts. But it's a new slate, right? Because last year, obviously coming in for the last four games, the last four starts of the season, it was a much different scenario than what he's facing now. He enters this season as a captain of this team. Last year at this time, he was the third-string quarterback going into that first game, right? So things are so much different now for Jalen Hurts, much more like this is his team here in 2021. So I'm excited to see what he can put out. First game here under Nick Sirianni, Shane Steichen, and this Eagles offense.
Yeah, what a difference a year makes, huh? Let's take a look at the offensive starters for the Eagles today. And the one I want to put a big star next to, Jason Kelce making his 106th consecutive start there on the offensive line. Also voted a captain. This offensive line is going to have a task ahead of them today against this Atlanta defense, protecting the young quarterback. We're going to break that matchup down probably many different ways, many different angles over the next few minutes here. But what are your initial thoughts on this offensive line? And let me preface it with this. Last year, 14 different combos started because of injury. This is the group this year. We got some previous starters back. We have Jordan Mailata starting at left tackle, a big contract extension for him that just came through. A lot to look forward to for this Eagles offensive line.
Yeah, this offensive line obviously going to be one of the catalysts for this side of the ball, for this Eagles offense. You want to be able to give Jalen Hurts time to hit guys like this guy who you see on your screen right here, the number 10 overall pick, no question. You want to give Jalen Hurts time to be able to get the ball to these playmakers. So to Devontae Smith, to Jalen Reagor, Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Miles Sanders, go down the list. That does not work if the offensive line is not together. And seeing this group practice here this summer, we see Jason Kelce, number 62, in the blonde locks for the first time here, suiting up for this in Eagles green. I'm excited here for this offensive line and what this can be, not just in the pass game, but in the run game as well. I can't wait to see this group take the field.
Everyone going platinum blonde. I'm here for it. I am here for it. Let's talk about Fran, I'm actually shocked. Well, let's talk about this guy. He's going into his second year, or the first round draft pick 2 years ago, and didn't get an off season last year. I think perhaps he didn't show as much as he wanted to last year. I think this guy has all the talent. We know he has a ton of talent, and last year we didn't see as much maybe that talent come to the full potential. And perhaps, a COVID year, a lack of an offseason. It was a tough year to be a rookie last year. This year, he says he feels healthy, he feels stronger, he's got his feet under him a little bit more, the mentality of the NFL, a full preseason under his belt. I'm really excited to see him in this offense.
Yeah, I'm excited for Jalen Reagor as well. And this is an offense that I feel is predicated on trying to make the most for all of their playmakers, be able to get them the ball fast, get them the ball on the move, and let them create yards after catch. So all of those names I rolled through earlier with Devontae Smith and Reagor and Goddard and Sanders down the list, all of those guys are going to benefit from an offense like this, where it is, again, it's predicated on getting the ball fast and getting the ball on the run, so now you can create after the catch. And I think that's going to be huge for Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, we're looking at a couple of vets here on the defensive line as we look at the defensive starters. Brandon Graham, of course, voted a captain again. He said it never gets old to have that honor from his peers. He has the most games played by an Eagles defensive lineman at 159. And look, he talked about the defensive line. He said it really all starts in the trenches on both sides, but getting that knockback on defense, that's when you really start to see those tackles for a loss. And, well, I like their matchup today. We're going to break it down a little bit more, but I really like the matchup for this Eagles defensive line against an Atlanta offensive line that has some youth on it.
Yeah, they've got some question marks along the offensive line, and that's going to be the big test for them coming into this game. It's something that they've talked about down there in the ATL over the course of this offseason, over the course of the summer, and in the build-up, because even their starting left guard coming into the season, Josh Andrews, he broke his hand late in training camp and had to go on injured reserve. And so they've had a lot of shuffling over the last few months. But to me, you look at this Eagles defensive line, I feel like they've been the best group that I have watched from the beginning of camp to the end of camp. That includes the 2 weeks of joint practices, Amy. So seeing this guy, number 94, Josh Sweat, not listed with the starting lineup, but he's going to be playing plenty here with this Eagles defense. And like I said, that group as a whole, that front four, have been super, super impressive. We didn't really see them during the preseason. So now getting a chance to see them in live action, that's why I'm just so excited to see the identity of this team on both sides of the football.
Yeah, I think maybe that Eagles front is the thing I have personally the least amount of question marks around. Let's talk about the tight ends for the Eagles. Zach Ertz, Dallas Goedert. Zach Ertz, he spoke earlier this season talking about the ups and downs of last year that he went through, the question marks about his future with the team. He's so happy to have that all behind him. He talked about being so excited to come to work every day, that he hasn't been this happy to come to work every day in a long time. He talked about overcoming the injuries of last season. He described the injury, the ankle injury, as, quote, freaking debilitating. You really felt like he had an emotional weight lifted off of him coming into this season. And, of course, the happier you are, the better you play. Two of the top tight ends in the NFL, once again, weapons for this guy. How much 12 personnel do you think we'll see, Fran?
That's a good question. To me, it is not even as much about the 12. It's just all the different ways that they can use these guys in 11 personnel as well. And to me, one of the big things I love to do early on in training camp, obviously we all want to get eyes on the young players, on the rookies. How do those guys look? But you also want to look at the vets. And do the vets still have the same pep in their step? Are they still executing at the level that we've expected? And to me, when I looked at number 86 here this summer, he looked like Zach Ertz. I mean, there was no question to me, this guy can still make an impact on an every week basis in the NFL. And so I look at this Eagles tight end room with Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert. I've got high hopes for what they can contribute to this Eagles offense.
Let's talk about the defense that they're going to be facing. Defensive coordinator Dean Pease, an absolute legend, his 48th season in the NFL. And Nick Sirianni had a fantastic quote about him earlier this week. He said he's retired twice and he's come back, and he's like, there's Michael Jordan, there's Brett Favre, and there's Dean Pease. When they retire, everyone is thrilled, and then they come back and everybody is tensing up a little bit. The word that is synonymous with him is a blitzing defense.
Yes.
What can you tell us about what we can expect from this Falcons defense today?
Yeah, I mean, we are going to hit on it a little bit here coming up in the show, but I think when you look at Dean Pease, the best thing you can do is expect the unexpected. He is going to keep you on your toes. That's an offense. And so that puts the importance here on Jalen Hurts, on Jason Kelce, on the running backs, the rest of the offensive line. It is a full team effort to keep the offense moving and try and defend yourself against the onslaught of blitzers. And he said when he was hired, he said, we are going to blitz. Every single position has that ability to be a blitzer. So it's not just linebackers. It's not just safeties. It's not just nickel corners. Outside corners are going to be a part of it. Everybody has the ability to blitz in this defense, and you can expect lots of different looks here today.
When you look across the talent on the Atlanta defense, what stands out to you personnel-wise?
So they've got a couple blue-chip talents at every level of the defense. I think when you look at Grady Jarrett along the defensive line, he's their best defensive player along that front. Then you look at the linebacker position. Deion Jones is going to be a factor, one of the fastest linebackers in the NFL. He is a guy that's going to be making plays from sideline to sideline. And then when you look in the secondary, a lot of young talent there, but A.J. Terrell was their first-round pick a year ago. A little bit up and down, as most rookie corners usually experience, but this is a guy with outstanding traits. And so you look at all three levels, those are the three players I would keep an eye on here if you're watching this Falcons defense today.
I want to shift gears because we were just looking at Alex Singleton, who is one of my favorite players on the team. He was voted a captain this year.
Yep.
That is just so exciting. A couple of years ago, he wasn't even in the NFL. He gets signed with the Eagles practice squad. He becomes a starter. He leads the team in tackles last season, voted a captain this year. Let's talk about this linebacking core. A couple of new faces. Eric Wilson, of course, the veteran that's added there. Jannard Avery going to be is listed at least on the depth chart at linebacker as well. The 3 starters on the depth chart: Eric Wilson, Jannard Avery, and Alex Singleton. What do you think about that second level for the Eagles defense?
Well, I think when you look at them playing behind this Eagles defensive line, that's certainly going to give them the ability to be able to run to the football, make plays from sideline to sideline. You see Eric Wilson here on your screen. He's got a background with defensive coordinator Jonathan Gannon going back to Minnesota, and he is a player that was formerly undrafted, came into the NFL and earned his keep, much like Alex Singleton, right? And to me, when you look at Wilson, his versatility, his instincts, and his toughness all show up in lots of different ways. So I think he's going to be a great fit with this Eagles defense. And Jannard Avery, he's just so explosive and so versatile. And in this scheme, I think that he's got the ability to wear a number of different hats, whether that means playing in reverse, playing as a pass rusher, defending the run. He'll be asked to do a lot of different things. And honestly, it's one of the things I'm excited to see is how these guys are deployed here at the linebacker position.
Yeah, this is one of the areas that we're going to get some questions answered today when we see kind of what Jonathan Gannon has been cooking up. I also want to talk about the Eagles secondary. Of course, we know Darius Slay is starting at cornerback. Steven Nelson, veteran, added to play opposite him. And then, of course, you have veteran Anthony Harris playing safety. Rodney McLeod out today. They have a tough task today against the Atlanta offense, which we'll break down in a bit. But let's talk about a little bit of a new look secondary here, what you like about it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a group, we expect to see a little bit more zone coverage than what we saw last year. The Eagles were primarily a man coverage team in 2020. So I think when you look at the way Darius Slay, Steven Nelson, Anthony Harris, and right now it looks like it's going to be Marcus Epps and Kayvon Wallace both getting reps. We see Wallace there in the middle of our screen, both getting reps at that other safety spot with McLeod still out with that injury from last year. But this is a secondary that's going to be flying around, and the emphasis from day one in training camp has been on getting the ball back for the offense. And so trying to create some turnovers, getting eyes on the quarterback, being violent when they arrive at the football. I think that's something we should see because it's been coached up ad nauseum every single day.
Yeah.
They've been out in the practice field.
Well, and I think we're going to see a lot of action on the perimeter in this game just based on the personnel on both sides of the ball and especially on this Atlanta offense. Look, we don't quite know what we're going to see from this Atlanta offense, but what we do know is this veteran quarterback, Matt Ryan, 14 years in the league. He's got a lot of talent around him. And look, this looks like one of the best receiving corps in the league, and Julio Jones is gone. Julio Jones was expendable because they had enough talent on this team. We're talking about guys like Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, the unicorn tight end, Russell Gage, who's been a fantastic player for them as well, and of course Arthur Smith, new coach, calling the plays as he's come over from Tennessee, where he was the former offensive coordinator there. I'm really interested to see how this defense treats Kyle Pitts today.
Yeah.
What do you think about that matchup?
Well, I think when you look at the way that they are likely to deploy their personnel, I would expect that they're going to play a lot of multiple tight end sets. So whether that means 2 tight ends or 3 tight ends, the Eagles are going to have to make sure that they know where Kyle Pitts is at any given point. They went out and signed Lee Smith to be the blocking tight end as essentially an extra offensive lineman. They already had Hayden Hurst, another former first-round pick there in tow with Atlanta. So I think when you look at their tight ends, one of the deeper tight end rooms in the league, the difference is from Arthur Smith last year to this year, he had to leave Derrick Henry in Nashville. He couldn't put him in his back pocket and bring him down south.
I'm sure he's really sad about that.
No question. So, I mean, Derrick Henry the last 2 years has had over 300 carries each of those last 2 seasons. He had almost 400 carries last year. Mike Davis, the Falcons starting running back, he's been in the league for a handful of years. He's never had more than 165 carries. And so are they going to completely change their approach? They were also the #1 play action team in the NFL last year. Are they going to change that approach? What does that mean for this offense? So, yeah, while we have an idea of what the identity was with Arthur Smith last year and the year before in Tennessee, I wonder if it'll be a little bit different here in Atlanta. We won't know until these 2 teams kick off here in a little bit.
Well, and one thing I want to touch on here for the Eagles offense, we were just kind of watching them, go through some warm-ups there with Jalen Hurts. The noise factor for the young quarterback. There were not fans in the stands last year, not a full house like he's going to be facing today. The noise factor for a young quarterback, a hostile road environment, not something he hasn't experienced before in his college career, but that is going to be a factor for them today.
Yeah, it's something that they obviously have been working through over the course of the week in practice, and with everything, all the other mental gymnastics you have to do in dealing with this defense, that's just another layer on top of things.
All right, let's talk about this guy right here. Voted a captain once again, no surprise there. Best defensive tackle in the league?
I mean, Aaron Donald will certainly have something to say about that, but he's right in that discussion, right, with a lot of these other top defensive tackles. You look at DeForest Buckner, who a lot of the members of this staff worked with last year in Indianapolis as well. Fletcher Cox, I mean, his ability to win in so many different ways, with quickness, technique, with effort, with power and strength. He is certainly one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL and looked the part here this summer.
And the new head coach taking it all in, his debut as a head coach, of course. Been in football his whole life. His family's in coaching. He is so excited about making his debut today. As the captain breaks down the team, what do you think is going through Nick Sirianni's head right now?
He's got to be excited. He's obviously, done a lot of interviews over the last few weeks, talking about this moment, getting ready for this game. You can't try it, and you don't want to be able to see the forest through the trees, right? So while you're enjoying this moment, you also have to be prepared to win, and that's something that he has talked about time and time again.
Oh, yeah. He has certainly talked about the preparation coming into today, what he wants to see from this team. Competitive fundamentals. He wants to see a team that cheers for each other, that's connected, and we have a lot of excitement to see him today. And a lot of excitement to see Dave Spadaro in studio today, the Eagles Insider, joining us inside. Dave, thanks so much for
glad to be here.
Coming into our neck of the woods over here. Let's talk a little bit more about this team's expectations for this season. Where do you think they are in terms of what they expect from themselves?
I think that, first of all, they've all bought into what Nick has been selling, all throughout the spring and summer. And I think that more than anything, they believe that all the outside noise that the Eagles are just not going to compete, that they're kind of an afterthought. They like that. We're back to being the Philadelphia Eagles underdogs, and I think that this veteran team has really responded to that. They come into this game with a lot of confidence. I feel like they want to shock the world, and I feel like they have quietly been talking about that in the locker room.
Dave, we've talked about Nick Sirianni and this Eagles offense and what they're going to try and do here in this first game. I know that you want to kind of talk about the challenge they face in your storyline for today's matchup.
I mean, the biggest challenge, you've talked about it. It's Dean Pease, it's the blitz, it's the noise, it's coming together as an offense when you've got a left tackle who's never been in a loud environment in his life, not just last year, but in his life. And they're going to have silent count today, the silent cadence. So how do you defeat the blitz that's going to come from everywhere? Do they design Jalen Hurts to run the football? Do they get him out of the pocket more? Do they get the ball out of his hands quickly and get that screen game going that's kind of been missing from the Eagles offense these last few years? Fran, to me, the Dean Pease factor is huge.
Yeah, no question. That's why I almost wanted to focus in on that here in this segment with our Rico Extra Point. We'll take a look here at exactly one of the looks that I expect the Eagles are going to see here today. And when you look at Dean Pease, so many different blitz packages. And one of them you'll see these double A-gap looks where you bring both linebackers up over the center. And they'll do so many different things out of it. Sometimes they'll bring one guy and drop another guy out, right? So you get a free rusher coming home to the quarterback. Sometimes you'll bring both linebackers and you'll drop defensive ends. This is all from one look. Sometimes you'll have these guys cross. You'll run a little stunt, little cross-dog blitz with both of those linebackers. And these are explosive linebackers in Atlanta. And then sometimes you'll bring both, and you'll bring an extra defender, a safety from depth. The Falcons had a sack like this, just like this in the preseason. And then sometimes, again, these blitzes, they're all designed to bring the running back up in front of the quarterback. Well, all right, we're going to bring him up, and then we're going to send a slot corner off the edge or a safety off the edge. So just from that one look, you guys can see all the different pressure concepts that they can run. It's a hell of a challenge.
And the question I have is, if you're coaching and you're trying to coach to your personnel, does Atlanta have the right personnel at this point to run that kind of defense? I mean, I have a lot of questions about that because there's some youth there, and there's some players that maybe just don't fit what Dean Pease exactly wants to do.
They're going to rely on that speed for sure.
That is going to be something to watch today for sure. Dave, for you, what is this game going to come down to for the Eagles?
I mean, defensively, for me, look, I respect what the Falcons have very much with their explosiveness. I don't think they're going to have much success running the football against the Eagles. I just think the Eagles are so much better up front against a young Atlanta offensive line. But how do the Eagles on the back end handle the explosiveness of Ridley, of Gage, of Pitts, etc.? I want to see what JG has lined up here. Too many X plays in the past few seasons against the Eagles. Too few takeaways. This Eagles defense wants to be a takeaway machine. So to do that, maybe a little bit more zone defense. You win up front, you blow away Atlanta's offensive line, and you make sure that you are sound responsibly with your assignments in the back end.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone's talking about with this Atlanta offense, all of the weapons they have on the outside. Fran, what are you looking at today for the Eagles to be the key to success here?
Yeah, I think a big key for me, guys, going back to the other side of the football, we talked about the pressure scheme that Dean Pease brings, but the other part is the disguise. And so it'll be up to Jalen Hurts to decipher, be able to see through what that disguise is. And basically, when I mentioned disguise, what that means is, look, pre-snap, he might see, okay, it looks like man coverage, looks like it could be a single high safety. He gets the ball, maybe he goes play action, or he takes his eyes off the secondary. Now, all of a sudden, instead of single high man coverage, well, now there's 2 high safeties, and it's zone coverage. And that completely changes what you're going to do from a progression standpoint, and that could really throw you for a loop as a quarterback. So it will be up to Jalen Hurts to be able to cipher through all of that they're trying to throw at him from a disguise standpoint.
It sounds to me, Fran, like from your standpoint, it's as much of a mental challenge today. The mental game for Jalen is every bit as important as what he's doing physically with the football.
No question.
That is a great point. For me, what I'm looking to see is what is Nick Sirianni going to do in terms of adjustments? Yeah. How's he going to game plan the beginning of this game, and how's he going to adjust? We talked about there's a lot of mystery. There's a lot of unknown for both of these teams. To me, the mark of a great coach, a winning coach, is one that makes adjustments in the game, and that's what he's going to have to do today because we don't totally know what we're going to see. He doesn't totally know what he's going to see. And look, that's what he mentioned earlier this week. He's like, it's preparation and it's adjusting. I think we're prepared. Let's see how we adjust.
And we've talked all about how the players have bought in, and they have, and they really like Nick, and they like the coaching staff. But the way that you really get players to buy in is by winning on game day. And so Nick has to be better than Arthur Smith today. So right around the second quarter, when teams start to get a feel for what each other's doing, then you'll find out which coach is making the in-game adjustments more quickly, more accurately, and more beneficially for the teams.
Interesting how many similarities there are between these two teams.
I think for Nick and a young coaching staff, having a rookie head coach on the other sideline is really a benefit in week one. If you're going against a Mike Tomlin or somebody like that, it's a little bit more difficult. They've got a little bit more institutional knowledge. Arthur Smith is in the same boat as Nick Sirianni.
I believe it's the first time since 1973 the Eagles have gone against a rookie coach with a rookie coach on their own sideline.
Mike McCormick,
crazy,
the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles back then.
Wild.
Long before your guys' time.
Encyclopedia, Eagles Encyclopedia over here.
Thank John Ganold for that one.
It was so fun to have you in studio.
Thank you.
Let's do
Great
this
to be
again.
Here.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
let's do it again. All right, let's bring in a couple other members of our broadcast team. Calling the game today, the legends, Merrill Reese and Mike Quick. They've got our players to watch.
Amy, it's the start of the 2021 NFL season, and we couldn't be more excited. Mike, can you control yourself for a couple of moments to tell us who is your player to watch?
Well, allow me, just indulge me for a second here.
Sure, I'll indulge you.
Allow me to be Captain Obvious.
Okay.
My guy to watch is going to be Jalen Hurts. You know, he's the quarterback. And you know how important the quarterback is in the National Football League. And if he plays well, things will go well with this football team.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. My player to watch is not quite as obvious. It's Brandon Brooks, because he was a little bit dinged this week and was held out of a practice and was limited in how much activity he had. He is a key, because for Jalen Hurts to succeed this year, you need a healthy offensive line, and they are going into the season. So keep your eye on Brandon Brooks. Back to you, Amy.
Merrill Reese heading into his 45th season with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Philadelphia Eagles and Axalta Coding Systems have built a roster of all-pro teachers. Go to philadelphiaeagles.com/Axalta All-Pro Teachers to view this year's list of outstanding recipients. And Eagles fans score official NFL gear every week just by drinking Pepsi. Purchase Eagles Pepsi bottles or packs, scan the code, and start building points. And redeem them for Eagles gear or a shot at the grand prize every single week. Visit madeforeagleswatching.com for rules and to enter. So we're all waiting to see what this new Eagles offense is going to look like with young talent everywhere. Quarterback Jalen Hurts is leading the youth movement, but when you listen to him talk, he feels more like an old sage. Ahead of his 5th NFL start, Hurts sat down with our own Mike Quick for this week's one-on-one presented by Pondla Hockey.
Pleased to be joined by Jalen Hurts, Captain Hurts. How's that sound to you?
I guess it has a little ring to it, huh?
Yeah, tell me, is it humbling a bit when you get the news that you're going to be the team captain on offense?
It is, and I don't take it lightly. I don't take it for granted. The opportunities that I have and I receive, it's a pretty big deal. And everybody who knows me, they know only thing I want to do is lead this team and lead this team to victories. So for my teammates to grant me with that opportunity to lead them, it means a lot, and I want to do what I need to do it for them.
Having a guy that's coaching the quarterbacks in Brian Johnson, a guy that you've known most of your life, how comforting is that part of your process?
It's very comforting, and we talk about connecting all the time. We talk about connecting and building relationships and the value of that. And I've been able to build relationships with Coach Steichen, Coach Sirianni, everyone. But having Coach Brian here in the history that we have, I watched Brian play high school football. I grew up around him when he was in high school. I watched him go to Utah, and I watched him end up coaching at Utah and on the Mississippi State with my recruiting process and all of that. So having that in-depth relationship, and it's great to fall on.
You've got some really talented targets around you. When you look at on the outside, you've got Jalen, you've got Quez, you've got G. Ward, you got Devontae. Man, that has to be exciting. Tell me your feelings about those guys that you have to work with.
Yes, sir. I think everybody, we have a lot of ability outside on the perimeter as well as in the box. They can do it all too, the tight ends, but just feeding them, getting them involved, and letting them showcase their abilities and letting them play, really.
You mentioned the tight ends. I think you got one of the best duos in all of football. That has to excite you quite a bit. For a quarterback, your best friend is the tight end because that's that easy throw that you can make.
Without a doubt, and those guys have a ton of experience. They're very helpful for me, and us being on the same page and communicating, and we've done a great job with that. So I'm excited for everyone. I'm excited for them.
Captain Hurts, can't wait to see what you have in store for this city, for this football team this year, and best of luck to you going down to Atlanta.
Thank you, sir. Let's see how long we can hold on to that name.
So the first time I heard of Jalen Hurts, he was a junior in high school, and he committed to Alabama. He was a 3-star recruit, I think. Alabama already had a 5-star quarterback in the class. And I was like, what is happening here? Who is this guy? And someone at Alabama told me, they were like, the coaching staff really likes this guy. And they think he's really something special. He has great leadership ability. And, you know, now look at him.
A couple years later, what's he lead them to a national title as a true freshman? I mean, that's the book on Jalen Hurts.
Everywhere around here, all preseason, we've heard everyone praise his leadership. Of course, he was voted a captain by the team, but that is not anything new for this guy.
No, not at all. And to me, like, it's obviously you have the off field with Jalen Hurts, but even just on field, and I've said this before here this summer, but if you look at Jalen Hurts from practices 1 through, we'll say 7, 1 through 6, and then you look at him from practices 7 through 15, it wasn't a completely different player, but you saw definite improvements with him, you know, improved confidence, improved comfort in this offense and getting the ball to these playmakers. So I can't wait to see him here in this offense today. I thought the 10 or so snaps we saw in the preseason was a really good sign, but now he's got to carry over to Sunday. We know that there's a difference between training camp execution and then taking it over to the regular season. It all starts here today for him.
Yeah, a big task, but plenty of eyes on this guy. Like I said earlier, I think the entire NFL is watching. I think he's really going to take ownership of this offense and this team today, and we are very excited to see it. Of course, don't forget to join us after the game for the post-game show presented by Rico for instant analysis and press conferences from coaches and players. We have a big, exciting NFL kickoff for the Eagles today. The Eagles and the Falcons going at it. 1 p.m. kickoff, just a few minutes away. And, of course, enjoy the game, everybody, and fly, Eagles, fly.